In this video, I want to answer the question, what goes into a project definition? There are a lot of things you might put in your project definition. You won't always need all of them. So in this video, I want to give you a long list of the possibilities. The place to start is with the purpose. Why would we do this project? And there are two things you might put into your project definition to help answer that. The first, the business drivers, the compelling reasons why we need to do this project. Often a project is a response to some form of external pressure, a change in regulation perhaps. Or it may be a response to a business opportunity or a competitive pressure. Indeed, it could be a wholly internal reason, like the need to upgrade or update some product or service that you currently offer. The second thing that you might include in your project definition that is linked to purpose is the anticipated benefits that you'll gain from your project. You could, of course, label this as the value, which is a relationship between benefit and cost, and we'll come on to cost later. But however you do it, a project needs to have benefits to the sponsoring organisation, and this is where you would include them. Next, there are a whole raft of things that you might include in your project definition to do with the outcomes of your project, what you get as a result of doing your project. The first and most obvious, I suppose, is the goal or the aim of the project, what it is you want as a result of doing the project. Now, if you've already included the benefits, then the question is, what is it that you need to produce that's going to create that benefit or that value for the organisation? Second, you might also include your objectives. Typically, we express objectives in terms of schedule or time, cost or budget, and quality or the standards to which we produce the goal. Next, you may be wondering, why didn't I include scope in the objectives? And I think of scope as something slightly different. Scope is about the breadth and the depth of your ambition, all the different elements of the service you're producing or the product you're producing, the functionality, if you like. The scope could be expressed as all of the physical components of what you deliver, or you could also express it as the range of work that you're going to need to do. Almost every project definition is going to include scope, and as soon as you include scope, you also need to include the exclusions, the things you're deliberately not going to bring into your scope. That way you can counter scope creep by demonstrating that you've already thought of this and you've chosen explicitly to exclude it. Next, you may want to include deliverables, things you're actually going to produce as a result of your project. And again, there are two things to consider here. Firstly, there are the end deliverables, the deliverables that the project wants and needs to produce, because that is what is directly going to give the benefit to the sponsoring organisation. And then there are interim deliverables. The organisation doesn't want these things, but you need to create them as part of the project because they are part of the process that will lead you to being able to deliver the end deliverables. Interim deliverables often include things like plans and drawings and diagrams and lists and documentation along the way. Now, there are four main considerations that you are likely to want to include in many of your project definitions. These are things that you will take into consideration in the way that you plan and deliver your project. First, we have dependencies. What external factors is the project going to be dependent upon? Are there events that you need to be aware of so that you can time elements of your project to fit in with them? Are there other activities within the organisation? Are there external things going on outside of the organisation as you need to be aware of so that when they happen, they're going to have some sort of an impact on your project? Next are constraints. Constraints are things that constrain the choices that you're able to make when planning and delivering your project. Legislation or regulation are obvious constraints. We can't step outside of what is allowed by the law or by regulation. Other considerations to take into account are risks and issues, things that could go wrong or things that already have gone wrong and are presenting you as a project team with a challenge. And finally, there are uncertainties and assumptions. Uncertainties are things that we simply don't know, and assumptions are the placeholders we put into our planning process to act as if we know them. Now, there is nothing wrong with using assumptions in your project planning process. Indeed, often we can't get past the definition stage, or indeed complete the definition stage, without making some assumptions to cover the areas where we're uncertain about. But we need explicitly to label them as assumptions so that we remember at a later date to test those assumptions and to either validate or replace them with facts. And finally, your project definition may include some reference to the key people on your project. And the two main categories of that are the people internal to the project and the people external to the project. Internal to the project, you've got key players like the sponsor and maybe core members of a steering group or core project board members who are going to have an input into the governance of the project. Of course, the project manager needs to be named in any project definition document, and so too may be some of the team members. At the project definition stage, all this is likely to contain is either the key roles that are going to be significant to the project without naming the specific role holders, or possibly the team leaders that are going to lead work packages or work streams. The individual team members that work for them are unlikely to be known at the definition stage and will start to be gathered and allocated to the project during the planning stage. The other main group of people to mention are outside of the project, and we refer to these as our stakeholders. And key stakeholders who are going to have a significant impact on the decision making and the process of the project are usefully identified at the definition stage and may well go into your project definition. Are there other things that could go into your project definition? Yes, of course there are, but I think I've covered the main ground. Perhaps the one that is most likely to crop up is budget. Now, I wouldn't include a budget in the project definition section because I don't think we've got enough knowledge and understanding of the project at this stage to put together a budget. But certainly under objectives and cost, I would include an outline budget, the main cost items, so that we can get a sense of the scale of budget we are likely to develop during the planning stage. It's for each project manager and the people around them to decide what goes into the project definition for any project. The most important thing is that you look at the long list and decide what is right for you. Please do give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, learned from it. I'll be creating loads more great project management content for you, so please do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.